Welcome back to Tungsten Tales. Here once again with Samuel Gill from Darts News. Thank you very much for coming on, Sam. We're going to be talking about crowds coming back to darts venues. We're going to be seeing people, a limited crowd, at the final few Premier League events in Milton Keynes at the Marshall Arena, and of course for the playoffs there as well. And then the PDC announced late last week that there's going to be a capacity, a full crowd at Blackpool at the Winter Gardens for the World Matchplay. As it stands, as the government roadmap is, there will be a full crowd at the Winter Gardens. Is that going to happen, do we think?
I don't know. Everything changes day by day at the moment. It's like I was just saying to you off air. Everything's kind of up in the air in terms of variants and vaccines and all that sort of stuff. So stuff I'm not going to speculate on because I'll be here forever. But yeah, hopefully we will have a capacity crowd for the World Matchplay. It's something that was spoken about a few months ago when the roadmap was initially released and everyone was getting really excited and being like, it's going to be full capacity for the Winter Gardens. As a showpiece event that all darts fans like to go to. Hopefully now we've got this. Hopefully now we've got this confirmation. It can, it can kind of lead to actually happening. 2,000, which I believe is the capacity of the for every single session, which is absolutely brilliant. Of course, all the fans from last year who previously booked. I think Matt Porter said about 90% of them hadn't decided to get refunds. So you can kind of tell how much they want to attend the World Matchplay. It's brilliant to see. Of course, starting with the Premier League, we'll kind of see how that went. I wasn't there for that. I think it was the only night of the World Championships I missed was that fateful night when crowds were there for one night and then everything got locked down. As we know, you ended up going to go and cover the World Championship where you're in Tier 2, and by the time me and you had left the World Championship, it was Tier 4. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works. But it's brilliant to see. Albeit in small numbers, we've ended up seeing it in boxing, for example, with the 70,000 at the Dallas Cowboys for Canelo Saunders this past weekend. We ended up seeing it in Gibraltar for White Povetkin.
Snooker as well.
Yeah, snooker as well. It's always great to see it. It's kind of the next stage on the road to normality. So, yeah, it's great. It's great to see.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It will be nice to see people back in the venues, even in their small numbers at the Premier League. But back to the Winter Gardens, and knowing that place like I do, I've been there a few times myself in a media capacity. Never been there as a fan, but it's a very cramped venue, you would say. The tables are all very, very close together, and it's a venue where it would be impossible to social distance. The crowd would be hugely reduced if they were social distancing the tables. It'd probably be down to about 300 or 400, I would imagine, if they were. So assuming there's no social distancing process, that is going to be an absolute party, getting the World Matchplay back at the Winter Gardens. And I think all players, well, most players I'm sure, and fans will be raring to go for that. But Premier League, fans back in there. A few players have sort of said that the debutants may have had it a little bit easy this year. I'm looking at you, Gary Anderson. I'm looking at you, Mr. James Wade, as well. Even Michael Van Kerwin as well. So, yeah, they're saying the debutants have had it a little bit easy with no crowds in there. How much will it affect them having, 400 or 500, I think it is, for the Premier League?
I think personally it's only one or two players. I think you're literally looking at Jose de Souza as somebody who won the Grand Slam. I don't mean to nitpick on Jose because he's absolute box office, as we know, and he's absolutely brilliant. And hopefully he'll be able to set that forward. He has ended up playing in front of crowds, albeit for not that long. And at the start of his PDC career when he ended up playing Michael Barnard on that fateful day at the World Championship all those years ago. It's a day me and you both remember quite well. It's going to be interesting with him, of course. I kind of say barring that, of course, Vandenberg, he thrives on crowds. He thrives on that energy. Hopefully we'll end up seeing Dancing Dimmy back on that stage as a result, albeit I'm not a massive fan of that walk on, but it's great to see, isn't it, really? for all those fans in attendance, and of course Peter Wright as well. He's somebody who thrives on that card as well. I'm not kind of sure on Johnny Clayton. He's played in the PDC long enough to kind of win titles, and he ended up, I believe he ended up reaching his first major final with a card at the European Championships. So it's not really a barometer for me, and he's only won one major, and that's been quite recently, and he's ended up showing that form on the big stage, barring that as well. So I think it's going to be more interesting for the likes of Dirk van Dijvenbode when he can return when he can return to cards. When he makes his World Matchplay debut, which he's very much likely to do at this point. He's currently like 8th in the Pro Tour Order of Merit, and he's very much likely to qualify. It's going to be interesting to see how he performs in front of crowds. He's a very big character, and hopefully he'll be able to bring that forward. But yeah, so certain players, as a result, it's going to be interesting to see how they do perform with the crowds coming back. I wouldn't kind of agree with Van Gerwen, Wade, Anderson's comments as such. I kind of agree with it in terms of him winning the majors, but in terms of him playing on that big stage, I wouldn't kind of agree. I kind of add Glenn Durham to that if he was still in it, but of course he's out, and he ended up winning titles time after time at the Lakeside. So even him, you can't really say it. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a pointless comment in my opinion.
Yeah, regarding the debutants, I mean, with Johnny Clayton and Dimitri Van den Bergh, I just think they're far better players than they were 18 months ago, especially Johnny Clayton. I mean, you look what he's achieved in the last even year. World Cup of Darts was superb at the Masters, and towards the latter end of last year, he's been a danger in every tournament he's entered. So I just think Johnny Clayton's a better player now, and the same goes for Dimitri Van den Bergh. Notoriously, he's a stage player anyway. Made his real breakthrough, I guess you would say, at the Grand Slam in, I think it was 2018, maybe even 2017, where he made the quarterfinals, the one where he hit the 9-darter as well against Stephen Bunting. So he's a stage player. He loves the crowd, and I don't think it makes any difference. Jose's a little bit different. He hasn't had quite the exposure. He's only really got into the top end of the PDC when there's not been a crowd around. Obviously, he's played plenty of stage games with a crowd being there, so it might be a little bit different for Jose, but he's been up on that stage. He knows what it's like. So I don't think it really affects them. Maybe if there was 10,000 people there, it might have an effect on the first night back, but there isn't. So I don't think it makes a huge difference, does it? So it'll be interesting. The same goes for the World Matchplay. I think lots of the players that are going to qualify will know exactly what it's all about. So, and Dirk van Dijvenbode, you say it will be great to see him with a crowd back. He's a great character, terrific for the game, and to have 2,000 fans behind him doing the lawnmower, it will be a sight to behold, and I can't wait to see it, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think in terms of those currently qualified for the match play, I think we're going to have a lot of debutants again. I think you've got the likes of Ross Smith, even Ryan Searle, one of your favourites, is only just on the cusp. Callum Ridds is on the cusp, and we'll need a big Super Series because he didn't, of course, travel to Germany, albeit 10 minutes away from travelling to Germany to his COVID test. It's going to be interesting because there's going to be quite a lot of players that are in that position. Also, players not qualifying for the World Matchplay, like Adrian Lewis, likely won't, and he's likely to tumble down and could even be going to Q school in the not too distant future, which is quite an interesting thing to think about. Same with Steve Beaton. Beaton's not currently qualified for the Matchplay. Even the likes of Stephen Bunting's not qualified. Simon Whitlock, both of them aren't in the Pro Tour Order of Merit. I think with Bunting he's just outside at the moment, but Simon Whitlock's going to need a big few weeks in my eyes to qualify. And of course, he ended up producing those brilliant scenes last year when he ended up smashing Van Gerwen for one of about 4 times last year. So he's always good to see on that stage. He's always a fan's favourite. So it's going to be interesting on both kind of scales. You've got the big names looking to return some of their big stage form, like Gerwin Price, who we've kind of touched upon in terms of him not playing for quite a long time. Mark Van Gerwen, of course, he absolutely loves the crowd. Peter Wright, Gary Anderson. But then you've got the potential debutants as well, like I say, with Callum Ridds, Ryan Searle, players like Dirk Van Dijvenbode even will be a debutant this time around. So yeah, it's going to be interesting on all scales to see how they're going to cope with the crowd and whether or not they can bring the form from the big stage at the World Championships, for example, last year to the big stage with a crowd at the World Matchplay. Hopefully, it's a sign of things to come with the likes of the World Grand Prix. We don't know if that's being held in Dublin. Grand Slam, we don't know whether that's being held at Aldersley or whether or not that's going elsewhere, and other tournaments like that in terms of getting full crowds in. And yes, it's going to be a real pilot in the next few weeks in terms of the Premier League, and then you've got the World Matchplay, and then hopefully we'll get a full calendar and hopefully have fans in for the rest of the year because at the end of the day, it's what it's all about.
Yeah, hopefully a sign of things to come with all those big tournaments coming up later in the year. We look forward to welcoming the fans back and seeing how much the dynamic changes in darts. It's been a long time since we've had a big crowd in the darts venue in the UK. As I say, just that one date at the World Championship where Peter Wright was on stage in his Grinch costume. So, it'll be great to have the fans back in the arenas, and we really look forward to it. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks very much for joining me, Sam, and we'll speak to you soon.